All right. Thank you all for joining today. This is our alert origination software presentation. We started doing these in an effort to give vendors an opportunity to answer any questions and demonstrate their products and display any features or new features within their software. So here are some tips for using WebEx. Again, we'll be demonstrating today a vendor, and you can ask any questions in the chat feature below. Questions will be answered in the order that they are received. Copies of this presentation can be requested at justin.singer@fema.dhs.gov with the subject line as webinar presentation request. I'm going to read our disclaimer here. The Integrated Public Alert and Warning System, IPAWS, many demonstrations are intended to increase state and local emergency and management agencies' awareness of vendor products and IPAWS capabilities. The webinar provides an overview of the interoperability of these systems with IPAWS open and will include vendor presentations of their products. FEMA's IPAWS Program Management Office encourages and facilitates this discussion of products and tools, but it does not endorse any specific vendor's products. This webinar is for educational purposes only. Today we'll be watching the demonstration of Regroup, presented by Jed Soberl and Pamela Hennessy. Any vendor-specific questions can be directed to the email addresses listed there. And Jed, now I'm going to make you the presenter.
Can you advance to the slide with the email addresses before we get started?
I'm sorry.
No worries at all. I just want to leave. There you go. Thanks for the introduction, Kiara. Again, my name's Jed, and I have Pam as well for support today. And I look forward to any questions. Please don't hesitate to send those. Nothing's an interruption, and there are no bad questions. And then before we move on, if you don't mind taking those email addresses down, I'd love to hear from you offline following the webinar for any additional information you may need. All right, and Kiara, when you're ready, I need to be given share permission. All right.
It's all yours. Mm-hmm.
All right. So here we go. As is tradition, I'm going to start with a few slides here. So today we're going to be talking about the Regroup Mass Notifications IPAWS integration. And so Regroup allows mass notification of many redundant methods of communication, but specific to the Integrated Public Alert and Warning System, we cover all of the available alert dissemination channels, which I'm going to list here. And so our relevant communities are there on the left, going through federal, state, all the way down through tribal. And we give a little bit of detail on what each of those are. My assumption is that if you're attending this webinar, you are somewhat familiar, but EAS is the Emergency Alert System. And so this is broadcast TV and radio channels, similar stuff to that. WEA, or Wireless Emergency Alerts. This is what allows us to communicate to any cell phone device, regardless of whether they're subscribed, that falls within the boundary of an approved area for an authorized alerting agency. And there's NOAA weather radio, as well as other local infrastructure that we can plug into. And then offline, we have mobile applications as ours, as well as those offered from FEMA that allow you to receive through a native application on iOS or Android. Regroup's hallmark, and something we try desperately to adhere to, is just being effective, fast, and easy to use. Create a simple tool so you can manage the emergency and not the software suite. All right, I'm not a fan of slideshows, so I'm going to jump into a product demo here. Oops. Turn the video on for a second. All right, so Kiara, can you see my Regroup desktop here?
Yep, I can see your screen, yep.
All right, so a regroup traditionally can send over email, text, text SMS, voice calling, as well as through a native mobile application. And within the IPAWS product, we also offer each of the posting methods that we just discussed. And so we'll see those become available on the left when I select an approved IPAWS key. So these keys are overseen by FEMA, and we can assist and advocate in the process of getting your key approved if you're an authorized alerting agency. If you have any questions about what an authorized alerting agency is, or whether or not your organization is eligible for that, you can contact either FEMA directly or myself and Pamela. But we would select our post methods on the left as they become available, and you see the regroup posting methods that are external. So these post methods would be direct to people who have subscribed, whereas the FEMA alerting methods are going to go out on the dissemination channels that they have. So within this, this includes partnerships with OEM and cell carriers that essentially guarantee delivery to devices that fall within the region you're approved to alert to. So it's a very powerful alerting suite. And going down, we can detail any aspect of our alert. So when I look into our event codes, we see everything that's available. Our FIPS codes has to do with where we're eligible to deliver into. Alert duration is how long that'll remain persistent. So how long it'll continue to alert and attempt to reach different destinations. The sender being who you are sending. Geographical location is going to allow us to select on the map specifically where we want to send a message. Then with our advanced options, we choose different metadata about the incident. We select urgency, severity, certainty. Each column has a description explaining the answers, or explaining each facet of the message and what all of this means. Right, and you'll go through, they have a really robust training available as people become authorized to send via IPAWS. And then we get into the meat of it with the compose message. So we see our short text, long text, then as well Spanish and instructions. All right, and finally we allow you to import a audio or video file for the various EAS broadcasts. But I'm going to go to the top and select a template. All right, and what this allows me to do is have a pre-configured message. So this is a civil emergency message, and I'm going to select this group just to show Regroup's alerting capabilities that can happen simultaneously. So the difference here is I can deliver over the FEMA dissemination methods, and that's the EAS, WIA, and WEM that all exist over here. But as well, I can put out text to join or web sign up pages, maybe on a county website, that type of thing, that allow people to direct subscribe. And so if I were out of town, but I wanted to notify family, I would still receive the alert, even though I don't fall in that polygon selected. And so I see my Charles, Maryland FIPS code selected, my 1 hour that I want to leave it there. And so I see that I've selected the inlet creeks off of the Potomac with the hypothetical scenario, which is less than hypothetical these days, but that we've flooded these inland creeks. Coming down, we see each of our advanced options, right, with their guides helping us determine what to choose with each of these. And again, we can use the description to have a simple classification table provided there. All right, we're telling people to prepare. And within this, we see our short text, Nanjemoy Creek has risen due to Hurricane Ida, blocking evacuation routes. Hurricane Ida has produced high winds and rising tides throughout inlets of the Potomac, causing Nanjemoy Creek to flood directly west to the Potomac. This has cut off evacuation routes for residents south of 6 and west of 301. This is entirely hypothetical, but you can see how you can deliver really, really urgent and critical information to your residents and citizens, including Spanish as well. And then we get down into instructions, what we're actually telling people to do. Shelter in place until emergency responders make contact. Stay in the highest indoor location available. If you're north of 6 and displaced, please seek shelter at the St. Charles Town Center, where a marshaling area for residents has been established. If necessary, get to the highest point available and make yourself visible for rescue personnel. And then we have our EAS broadcast content attached. And so I'm going to preview this message. This is really important when you're sending over such a open channel. And I can confirm each of these. And we send the alert. So we see we have a redundant confirmation. So I posted that, and that's going to send. And there's some things before we get into the message viewer. We see our acknowledgement over each of the channels that were sent with no error and our response ID. But I'd like to go into some of the things that make sure we don't send an error. And so we have our map validation. So if I select my approved IPAWS key, when I go to create over the map, I'm going to see my approved alerting area there. And so if I attempt to draw a polygon that were to go outside of my approved alerting area, we're going to let you know and ask you to redraw that. We can also import shape files that would allow you to have precise map areas provided by a third-party system. So those could be used in the process of sending. And similarly, if we're selecting an alert category here and we say rescue and we choose an urgency of immediate, so immediate or expected require specific responses in severity, certainty, and whatnot. And we validate those for you and give you a notice as you're attempting to send. All right, and then Kiara, I'm going to go back to this post, but do you want to take the share and show the message viewer?
Yes, so I'll confirm the seat here in the lab via our message viewer.
And what Kiara is showing is a really important tool that allows you to validate you're being received by the IPAWS lab.
Yes, and that there is our top message there, and we'll click on that and show that we have green checks for WIA, so our message was sent successfully there, and it looks like our EAS is loading. But if we scroll down, we have a green check for NWIM. Oh, there it is, WIA, EAS. Green check in NWIM. And there's our audio message attached there. And yep, good test message, successfully sent to the lab.
Now, with the repeated landfalls of weather events, as well as a broad variety of civil emergencies that could occur, I think it's a pretty straightforward use case for any municipal agency to want to access this. I don't have any questions that have come across yet, but I'd love to take any that you have.
Yes, if you have any questions, again, it doesn't look like we have any in our Q&A box, but vendor-specific questions can be forwarded to these email addresses listed here, and more requests for downloads can be, a request of copy of this demonstration can be requested at justin.singer@fema.dhs.gov. with the subject line as webinar presentation request. So, Jed, if you don't have anything more to share, I'm going to conclude the demonstration.
I'll spare unless anyone wants to see additional facets of Regroup, because with that, we saw our posting into IPAWS. This can be accompanied by a text, voice call, email, or push notification to the Regroup mobile application to direct contacts. So if you have municipal employees that you want to load into the system, if you want to post text to join or QR codes or embedded sign-up pages to local websites, you're able to import directly. And so you're sending directly and you're not going through FEMA's site. And that creates a redundancy of communication as well as guaranteed reaching of stakeholders who would be a part of any response or require any action in events similar to the one we discussed on this. So we look forward to hearing from you, but that's all I have prepared for today.
All right, thank you so much, Jed and Pamela. I'm going to stop the recording now.
We appreciate the opportunity.
Yes,
Thank
thank you so much.
you.
We look forward to hearing any questions or comments you may have. Feel free